Hello, visual arts students. Today we're going to look at drawing a proportional human face. So it's the basics of drawing an idealized human face with relative proportion of the features in a conventional or ideal type of face. So the reason for learning the conventional proportions would be that you will learn how to generalize this to actual human faces as you get a lot more practice in drawing faces. So first of all, let's just look at what Google has. So Google image search, if you do a Google image search for proportional human faces, you're going to find a wide variety of tutorials. You might want to click on some of these after you watch this video and be able to work through some of those. Some of them are a little bit different from one another. Some are a little bit more complicated, but they're all going to probably teach you about the same type of proportional grid here that I'm going to go through. But anyways, there's lots to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my paint program and show you the idealized proportions in my paint program. You can follow along in your sketchbook, and we'll be doing a few different faces together today. Okay, I've gone into my paint program and I've drawn myself an oval. Now, not everybody's face is perfectly oval. Some people have a more square jaw. Some people have a shorter, rounder face. But we're going to start with an oval because that's sort of the ideal. So what I'm going to do first of all is once you draw your oval, I want you just to eyeball it and stick a line about halfway through it. Now, is that halfway? Maybe up a little bit for me. Okay, so once you get a line halfway through it, this is going to give you a little bit of a map of where the eyes go. And that's really important. I'm going to show you something here. I'm just going to get myself a little brush. When I just have people start drawing faces, often they put their oval, and I don't draw very well with my mouse, but they'll put their eyes up here. Your eyes should actually be on this line here, about half and half. You don't have to draw the eyes in right now if you don't want to, but I just wanted you to draw that line to start with. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to get another line. And just to kind of give myself some symmetry, because this person is going to be looking straight on, I'm just going to draw a line right down the middle. So you could do these grid lines even on a picture that you intend to do a nice job on, and you can just do them really faintly, and then you can erase them later. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get another line. And I'm going to split from this line to the top of the head. So you can usually use this line as a hairline. So sometimes the hairline will be a little higher, depending on how high that person's forehead is. But this would be a really good rule of thumb to use as a hairline here. So I'll go back to brushes and just put that in really quick so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Okay, there's the person's hair. Lots of hair. Okay, well, she's going to be lovely here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw another line, and I'm going to split from the middle here to the chin. And I think that's about right. Well, it's perhaps a little bit low, so I'm going to move it up a touch. Yeah, there. Okay, about halfway. I mean, you don't have to measure, just eyeball it. And this should give you the relative placement of the nose. If the divot for the eye, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to get a slightly different color just so you can see it. I'll go with red. Yeah, red. So if you could consider the divot for the nose, like that little divot right under your nose, right there. That would be right about there. Mine is terrible. Then your nose can go right in this box here. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to get ourselves another line. And this line, this time, is going to split this bottom quadrant here roughly half. If you don't get it about half, you can just erase it and move it slightly, but you don't need to worry about it being exact, precise. Okay, and then that's going to give you the space for the mouth. But then you might be wondering, well, how wide do I make the mouth? So before we actually finish drawing the mouth, I'll kind of put it, I'll put it in here just to kind of get it started. Remember, you want to have, but how wide? So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take my line tool again. So I'll go back to line and I'm going to draw a line down from where the eyeball would be to the bottom of the chin. And I'll do the same on the other eye. Now that's going to give you, that's not quite straight. That's going to give you sort of a little map of where the mouth should fit there. So I'm going to go back here and I can finish my mouth. So there's the top lip and I can put the bottom lip in there. And so that's about the relative placement of the mouth if you keep it within that box you've made there. Okay, now I have to do something with these eyes because these aren't very good eyes. So let me see if I can just... Okay. Now the thing with eyes is you want to have about one eye placement in between. And so some people have close set eyes and some people's eyes are a little further apart, but this is just an ideal. I'm really not able to do this very well with my mouse, but I'll try to make it vaguely eye-shaped there. Okay, so now if I wanted to, I could actually fit another similar sized eye in between. Of course, you don't want to, but that's about how much space you want to leave. You want to leave an eye's worth of distance in between. So on your own face, if you measure the length of your eye and then you measure the middle space, your other eye should be about that same width. I better erase the middle eye because that just looks ridiculous. Okay, so, oops. If you guys are following on your Chromebooks, you're going to find this a lot easier because you don't have to use your mouse. Now, the other feature that you may or may not be able to see, but there is a certain spot for it, of course, is going to be, well, there's two. We'll do ears first. So if you feel on your own eye and you follow your eye back to your ear, you're probably going to be able to touch the top of your ear, right? So we want to do that on our model here, our lovely model. So if we follow the line back, we should see a little bit of ear above that line and then right in about there. And the same on this side. Oops, that's a bit of a big ear I gave her, but not bad. Some people have big ears, right? So, and then the only other thing we would need here is an eyebrow of some kind. And again, there. And that's a fairly reasonably proportional face. So then when you're looking at real people or a person you might see in a magazine or something like that, you can say, well, are their eyes further apart than most people? Are their noses larger? Maybe if they have a big wide smile, then these lines you would know would go beyond a little bit beyond. So you can make those adjustments when you're actually doing real people. But it's really helpful to practice these proportions a few times through before you actually start on a real person. So that's what we're going to do. Your next step in having a nice proportional face, and remember this face is slightly tilted, so my line is going to also have to be slightly tilted here. If you pick a point that's about halfway down, and I'm going to say it's about here on this guy, and that's about right. But on your own oval, pick a spot that's about halfway down. It's not like you have to get out a ruler and measure it or anything. Just eyeball it. It's an approximation, but about halfway down. Now, about halfway is where the eyeballs are probably going to sit on most faces. So right about here. Now you can see that on most people, you're going to be able to see a little bit of the eyelid above that eye, and then you can finish the eye under that line, and you should have room for the eyebrows on top. Now, if you take a look at or just touch your own face and you touch your own eyes and you follow them back, you should probably find that you're touching your ears right at the top of your ears. So there's a little bit of ear sticking out. And you can kind of see that that's the case with the ear we can see here, right? Oh, that's a big ear I gave him, but anyways. And we can't really see his ear on this side, but if we could, it would also be like right about there. So the eye line right here, halfway, and then just a little bit over that line and going down a bit is going to be approximately where you're going to put your ears. Now the next thing to do is you've got from this line to the top, and you can't quite see the top here, but I can imagine where it is, right? Take another line and split that area in half so that you have that into quadrants here. So this line here is going to represent probably the person's hairline. So this guy has bangs, and I could probably just draw some of that in. And of course, we can see the side of his head. And then just depending on how long the hair is. But that'll give you kind of an idea of where the hair would stop. Of course, some people don't have bangs, and then you're going to have to adjust that a little bit. But that's a good approximation right there. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing with the lower part of the face, from this line here to the bottom of the chin. We want to draw another line. So I'm going to and we're roughly splitting the face in half here. Okay, so now we've got this quadrant of the face, this quadrant of the face. And as you can see, this quadrant is going to be where his nose is going to be. And most people's nose will fit within this general area here. So about like that. That's quite the nice nose I gave him. Now the next kind of rule of thumb is if we look at where his eye is, and it's a little bit hard right now because I've covered it with this big thick white line, but his eye is about there, from there to there, right? So if I pick a spot that's about halfway through that eye and I draw a line all the way down, and then I do the same to this eye, it's about there to there. And I want to pick a spot that's halfway in between and draw my line all the way down. From here to here is where the mouth will probably fit. So, and that works out pretty good for this face. So let's just go and put his mouth and his upper lip. Now I haven't drawn the eyes yet. There's a rule of thumb about the eyes here too. So maybe I should just switch color. So here, his eye is about this long here, about this long here. And there should be a space in between the two eyes that is about, that's a little bit longer, a little about the same width as one eye. So if you take one eye, I got my glasses on, if you take one of your eyes and just kind of hold your fingers and then put it again, that should be about the space between eyes. Of course, some people have wider set eyes than others, but for the average face, this is how it's going to work. Maybe I'll get a different color here and I can kind of show you about where the eyes are going to go here. That's a bit wrong size, but so my guy's turning out really handsome here. Then you can put the eyebrows in.